Welcome to the Grief and Belief podcast, where we share stories of hope. Thank you for joining us. We hope this powerful story will help you feel God's love for you today.
Welcome to another mini episode of the Grief and Belief podcast. I'm David Mickelson.
And I'm Kori Andrews.
And we're excited to come again and share some thoughts about what Ken and Kendra Moss shared in in the previous interview, especially focused on the idea of therapeutic writing and maybe the experiences we've had with writing, and so we're kind of excited. Kori, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm excited to share some thoughts. Writing through the experience was super helpful and even therapeutic writing, right, for me. And so, yeah, I'm excited. And I think we should even share a little bit, maybe something that we wrote down as we go. And so I'm excited to share some of those thoughts with you today.
Yeah, we both went after Brother Moss shared his experience. Kori and I have both gone through social media posts and journals and some documentation that I have written, and it was a really interesting experience going back, and amazing how quickly those feelings that I felt as Ava was passing away came back again.
Yeah,
similar feelings, some new feelings, but it's probably that and music are probably the two things that I can count on bringing me back to those days in October of 2022.
Yeah,
as fast as anything else.
Yep. So for me, the writing experience came. I'm not a big journaler. It just hasn't been a habit I've been able to establish very well in my life. I know this isn't a confessional podcast, but no, it just hasn't been one of those things that I've made a priority consistently. But when Katie went into the hospital, it was right before she was life flighted. I made my first post about the experience on social media, and from then on, people were reaching out and they wanted to know more. And so I was kind of accountable to now a group of people that wanted updates. But I ended up being grateful for that, because that experience of kind of writing out what we were going through, what we were experiencing, how I was feeling, was super helpful. And it helped me to process some of my thoughts and my feelings, and I had to really say, like, what do I believe and what do I feel about this? And I tried, even though it was social media and not my personal journal, I tried to make it authentic and real, and I felt like people appreciated that, that I shared a little bit of the grief side of things and some of those hard things that I was feeling and questioning, but also gave me an opportunity to share my belief and my testimony. And sharing those things that I wrote, just we felt a lot of love from those around us. And so I know that can be scary or daunting for some, but it's hard for people to reach out if they don't know. And writing can be a way that we can express what we're going through, and then allow people to serve us and to bless us. And we felt that in so many ways.
One of the things Alina and I talk a lot about is there's some people we've come to know through the grief experience who are very vocal on social media, and they share their experiences. And often Alina will send me one, or I'll see her comment on somebody's post and say, "You said it the way that I feel about it." So even if there are people who are benefiting just by putting good content out into the world, and I don't think we're advocating that everybody go out to Facebook and post, but if you have that desire to, it's therapeutic for you, but also for other people. I identify with this, what you're saying. You said it better than I could have. Like, that's been a very regular experience of ours, that we've really appreciated other people who are willing to put some of those thoughts out there. And it's very vulnerable to talk about grief and death and sorrow, and also the joy and the sweetness and the Savior. And you're sharing your most personal feelings about all of it.
Yeah. And maybe a little challenge for our audience. If you feel comfortable sharing something you've written, we'd love to see it. And maybe there would be others on our Facebook group who it could help, or they could resonate with. And so we want to make sure that we have an opportunity there for people to share. And so if you feel comfortable, jump on our Facebook group, share something you've written, and we'd love to see that as just an opportunity. So a little challenge for you today.
So, Kori, is it okay if I share something that I wrote?
Yeah, please. I want to.
So today, in preparation for this recording, I went back. I'd say I'm like a D+ journaler. I do a Google Doc. I put journal in the year, and many of them have one entry in them sometime in January, and not much else. And there were times where I've done most days for most of a year, and those are really wonderful. It happened to be that in 2022, I was doing a pretty good job journaling throughout the year. And so I'm very, very grateful for that. And what I want to share is maybe more on the grief side of things, because this was an entry from the day after we went into the hospital. So Ava's still alive, but we're battling kind of this cancer diagnosis. So this is October 28th, 2022. At around 1 a.m., they transferred Ava from the emergency room to the pediatric intensive care unit. That's where we met her oncologist for the first time, along with the rest of the team taking care of her. The oncologist gave us as many details as he could. Ava has been able to get some rest. Around 3 a.m., Alina and I tried to fall asleep in a small recliner. I couldn't go to sleep because of all the thoughts in my mind. I also just cried a lot. I don't know how to describe my feelings. I'm grateful for great friends and an outpouring of love. All of this feels like a bad nightmare. Ava's the sweetest girl, and this changes her future in dramatic ways. Alina is an absolute champ and has asked lots of good questions in the midst of a parent's worst nightmare. I feel full of faith and yet as weak as can be. And then there was a delay. I think I came back the same day in the evening to write some more. So I said, it's now about 9:45 p.m. Today has almost totally undone me. I feel powerless and a bit scared. I feel extremely sad. I have been battling for hope. Watching Ava suffer has been almost too much. She is so thirsty but can't have any liquids. I have spent much of the day in tears. I'll be doing fine, and then a wave of emotions hit me. Much of it is about Ava's suffering, but it is also because of so much support we have received. I think, I am generally a very positive person. I haven't spent a lot of time in the last 2 years in tears. I did initially, and occasionally I do. But something I long for is that deep feeling that I don't always have with me. Yeah. And when I've gone back to read my journal from this period of time, when I go back to my social media posts at the time, I feel deeply again. Yeah. And that's cathartic. It's been helpful. I need it, and then I feel like I can gain some focus to move forward again. It's like I need to reset myself. I don't know.
Yeah, and I can see how healing that can be. I think it's interesting that I avoid it sometimes, though. I don't even know why. Mm-hmm. I don't even know that I can explain it. And again, we're not therapists. We're not, but there's times where I just kind of don't want to go back and don't want to feel that way again. But when I do, I feel reconnected to her. And when I remember those feelings, she doesn't seem quite as far away.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, thank you for sharing that. That was beautiful, but powerful, and also moving, right? As you kind of opened up your heart there in what you wrote.
Mm-hmm. Well, what would you share with us, Kori?
Yeah. So I wrote a lot of these kind of posts, and I for those of you, I think I mentioned this in probably previous episodes, but I kind of titled them all with the Last Cupcake Girl idea, because that was our little nickname for her. And so this one I titled Last Cupcake Girl and Saying Goodbye. And so my this thing that I wrote happened after the funeral. And so here's what I wrote. The hardest part for me was closing the casket. I wasn't ready. It felt so final. With Katie and our other kids gathered around, we held the lid of Cameron's tiny white casket open. I was staring down at the lifeless body of my beautiful baby girl. I couldn't close it. I knew that once I did, I would never see her broken body again. "Are you ready?" the funeral director asked, and I wasn't. At times I have felt mad at Cameron's little body. Why couldn't it have been a more healthy vessel for such a pure and strong spirit? Why couldn't it not have these problems and just work properly so we could see her eyes again, or just even hear her cry once more? Or once. But there's also something special about that broken body, something beautiful. Deep down, I respect and honor that precious body for allowing me to be with and see my precious daughter for 38 heavenly days. I couldn't stop thinking about how quickly all this had just happened. It felt like everything happened so fast. It was exactly 3 months before her funeral on April 23rd that Katie and I took a bite of the last cupcake to find pink frosting inside. Then, 38 days later, we went to bed only to wake up at 3 a.m. on June 1st because Katie was bleeding. 5 days later, she was here on June 6th. Those 38 days of her life seem like a dream at times. Then to have to say goodbye to Cameron 32 days before her life was even supposed to begin. Her due date was August 14th. It was just too fast. It all happened so fast. I wasn't ready, but it was time. So I held the lid of her tiny casket open for just an extra second. I looked inside to see one last glance at that broken body that made it possible for us to spend 38 days with one of the most amazing individuals I have ever met. One last look at the little hands that I loved feeling wrapped around my finger. One last gaze at that amazing hair that was so cute and fluffy, almost like frosting on top of a cupcake. With some pain and a lot of gratitude in my heart, I said goodbye. Not to Cameron. I believe she's still with us, but to her broken, mortal body, because I know I'll never see it again. Then we closed the casket. We did it together as a family. It was still hard. Like a round stone being rolled to close a sepulcher, the casket was sealed, but not forever. It's not final. This is not the end. I wasn't ready to close the casket. I don't know that anyone ever is, especially when saying goodbye to a child. It goes against the natural order of things, so it is always too fast. But for all those who have closed a casket, we are so ready for Jesus to come. That day cannot come fast enough. Because when he comes, we will see Cameron again. But when I see her, when I hold her in my arms, her body will be different. It will be whole, glorious, and perfect because of Jesus Christ. But I wonder if maybe her hair will be exactly the same. And I like that. The reason I wanted to share that is because it kind of overviews the whole journey, but also a lot of those feelings that I was going through and experiencing and going back there. That grief is real. I still feel it, and I still even like start to tear up when I'm thinking about that moment of closing that casket. But also, I'm reminded of the faith I once had. Mm-hmm. In weak moments where I haven't always been there, in that moment. I'm grateful to go back and to remember that, I was strong once. I did believe that at some point. And so I'm grateful that I have kind of a written testimony in some of those. And that was part of, I guess, my goal and a responsibility I felt in sharing her story was to find Jesus and to write about it. I love Elder Eyring talks about how he would, at the end of each day for his kids, he'd sit down and he'd just write one thing that he saw. And I really did. In that moment, I tried to do that. And now I can go back and I can see where I saw him, where at times where I haven't been writing as well, I am not seeing him as clearly. And so I'm grateful. I'm grateful for those writings that I have, and it's inspired me to want to be better at journal. And we hope that some of you feel similar. And if it's been a while since you've written some thoughts and feelings, write them down, because they'll fade fast, those memories, if we don't capture them. And maybe they'll help you later.
Yep. And if you were a good writer, go back and read what you wrote and experience those feelings again. And if you're willing, jump into the Facebook community and maybe post one of your entries. Yeah. We would love to read those and experience that with you and share in your faith and in your grief. And so thank you for listening to this mini episode about therapeutic writing. We hope it blesses you, and we hope it's helpful in connecting you to our Savior, Jesus Christ.
We love you. Thank you.
Thank you to our incredible guests for sharing their story of hope. If you know someone who might be blessed by hearing this message, please share it with them. We would love it if you would subscribe, rate, and review, and comment on our podcast so others can find it. Be sure to follow us on Instagram and Facebook, as well as join our Grief and Beliefs Facebook group. Thank you to our sponsor, High Five Live Tours, where fun and joy meet on inspiring travel experiences. Special thanks to our producer, Misty Lynn Howard. Check out her history podcast called Faith Ignited. Thank you again for listening, and we'll see you next time.